This show is brought to you by Celltech MD, the leader in regenerative medicine, balancing your body from the inside out. Stevie, what's up, man?
Not much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man, I'm excited about this. I know we're going to make this kind of a whirlwind. We're already going to have you back because there's so much that I want to talk to you about. I've known you, or we've kind of like been associates through Nick for years, but I don't think we've ever had a chance to sit down and talk. And Nick always tells me how, like, you know, you got to sit down with Stevie. You got to sit down with Stevie. And then he keeps telling me all these crazy stories about you. And so here we are. So I'm here with the executive vice president of Hi-Tech Pharmaceuticals. Right, it is one of the biggest. Was one of the biggest supplement companies in the world. Right.
Right.
And you were, I guess, one of the co-founders, or
one of the three co-founders. Yes.
Okay, but not only that, but you're also a musician.
I am.
Right.
I am.
And you also bought that. It's a festival that happens every year. You've done a lot of music festivals and stuff.
Currently, we own Georgia Jam. Rights to Georgia Jam.
Yeah, which has been around forever. Right. And you purchased that to bring it back.
40 years.
There's just so many things. You're like almost like a serial entrepreneur of sorts or something. At least that's how I view you.
Sure.
So,
born and raised here in Georgia and Atlanta, and we always say we're an old dinosaur here in town, and we have been through a lot, and we have had a lot of ventures.
Well, I want to talk about that. So I want to get started on Hi-Tech, though, because this is a Gypsy podcast. Obviously, guys, if you haven't already, let's subscribe, hit the like button, notifications. We got a bunch of really cool stuff going on. Sometimes about fitness, sometimes maybe not so much about fitness. This is going to be a really cool one because we're going to get into everything. But let's talk about Hi-Tech first and foremost, because that's how most people would know you. Can you go back to like the inception of that? Like, how did you come about? Because you were there from the very beginning.
I was. Jared Wheat and Tom Holda, they started the company in August of 1997. Jared had a vision out of his parents' car and went around Birmingham, Alabama, and sold supplements out of his trunk of his car, and started about 94. And so I came on around 97, Thanksgiving, and we have really just kind of morphed with the times and really of what was hot. And we basically started Hi-Tech and got in the mail order division. We saw a very successful company here that did direct mail. So they were in the virility division of mail order, and we started out in diet. So Jared and Tom started a GNC type of store.
Yeah. What was the name of it?
It's called Hi-Tech Pharmaceuticals.
Okay, that was it. Okay.
Yeah. So the niche was, they had their own Hi-Tech brand, but the niche was you're able to private label. So this gentleman came on to Hi-Tech one day and said, hey, could you make me a virility product? And that was about the time when Viagra was coming out, and we said, yes, we could do anything. We weren't going to say no.
I love virility. All these PC terms for getting your dick hard.
Right.
Like I because like we talk about that way too much in this podcast too. I don't know, with Nick, and it seems like every single one, it comes back to that. I'm going to have to change the name of the podcast, but I love that you started with that, because at least we're like in canon for the rest of the shows and everything. So you started out with a pre-Viagra ED drug, or not drug, supplement.
Exactly. That's where it started. So our niche was we could private label. So we had two manufacturers, NVE Pharmaceuticals out of New Jersey, and we had Cliff Nittany Pharmaceuticals out of Pennsylvania, which we later ended up purchasing. But back to the story is we made this gentleman 10,000 bottles of a virility product. And he came back within a week or two, because they sold like crazy and they really worked. The two ingredients that worked back then were Xanthoparmelia scabrosa.
Bless you.
And Snittium monier.
That literally sounds like you just made those words up.
These two ingredients are engraved in my brain, because I literally answered the phone back in those days. Hi-Tech Pharmaceuticals, how can I help you? This is Steve. And then I would take an order, and I would talk about Xanthoparmelia scabrosa and Snittium monier.
So you were doing sales back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, hardcore, 7 days a week. I would take 100 orders a day, answering the phones. And that started just like that. And once this gentleman sold those bottles of those 10,000 bottles, he came back and he ordered some more. So we say, man, we're on to something here. Hence, Stamina RX. Stamina RX came from that direct mail individual. And 2 years later, we were in every convenience store, every retail, every food, drug, and mass, which I become. That's what I do, is food, drug, and mass for Hi-Tech. And food, drug, and mass is your big box stores.
So are you telling me that you guys basically started the gas station dick pills?
Yes, 100%.
Are you? That is the cool. That's how I should have introduced you, because like this would. I mean, how big of an impact has that had on the world? Like,
well, for 2 years after that, there was blue little stop signs that were in every convenience store, and it blew up so big. They were in rap videos. We had a NASCAR team 4 years later. Kenny Wallace and Scott Wimmer.
wow.
They were our drivers, and we had a NASCAR team. And so it just blew up, and we were blessed. And, you know, it's a success story for sure. And so the funds from that spawned what we have today. And I've been there 26 years. 600,000 square feet, 350 employees.
I want to stop you there, and because I want to go back for a second, because you said this has been 26 years since that has happened or whatever. What was it that you were involved in before this? Did you work at Walmart? Like, I mean, were you a trainer? Like what?
I was a personal trainer,
Okay.
and
Wow.
I was into cars. I was born and raised here in Atlanta, and so car dealerships, used cars. You know, we were in the nightlife scene, so everybody's wanting to drive a nice car. So I was into cars, and I was always good at sales. And I met Jared Wheat, fantastic guy, just a pioneer of the industry as far as formulations, and everyone knows him that's in the industry. So I met him, teamed up with him, and so he did the formulations and was the brains behind it. I was in the sales, and my other partner, Tom, at the time handled the warehouse and the shipping. So it was a perfect formula.
That's awesome. So that's how it got started. All right. So now fast forward into that. So you started sales. I see that all the time. Obviously, like, I mean, everything is sales, I guess, basically. So if you want to be a good executive or good owner of company, you still have to be a good salesperson. Would you say that? Like, or is it like, do you know any people that are big time executives? Because I mean, you have a lot of people that you know that you've dealt with.
You have to have, gift of the gab. You have to have charisma, charm, and so forth like that. You're selling yourself as well as selling the product. And in the beginning, that's what you had to have. And so, like I said, I was the food, drug, and mass. I was handled Walmart, Walgreens, CVS. It's all about relationships and who you know. And so, hey, man, we were just blessed, and God played a big role in that.
But I know a lot of good salespeople that could never run a business or grow a business. So what's the missing aspect there? Like, what's the thing that you have that, a really good car salesman doesn't have?
I would say perseverance and persistence. And later we can talk a little bit about the ups and downs. It hasn't always been NASCAR teams for Hi-Tech. We've had to fight the federal government tooth and nail. Since 2003, we've been fighting the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, over advertising practices. We fought the DOJ. We fought FDA. We've had to fight for everything that Hi-Tech has, and we've just fought for the industry for 26 years.
People don't see that though, right?
No,
they don't see the pressure that you go through.
They don't see a lot of that. No.
And so I love that you said that perseverance, because as I'm interviewing people, as I've done for many years now, I see that, everybody has pressure, but it's like the difference between if pressure that you don't deal with becomes stress. And then like the stress that you have, that's what makes you kind of like paralyzes you or whatever. But I feel like the people that are best at that, or that are able to rise to the top from that pressure, the people that can deal with that pressure and not crumble in it, or whatever you want to call it. But
when adversity would hit Hi-Tech, we'd roll up our sleeves, and we would have a saying around Hi-Tech. I mean, obviously, never give up is our mantra all over everything that we have. But between the partners, we would say no hill for a stepper. And so,
I like
It was
that.
kind of an old Marine type, Semper Fi type of saying, I believe, but no hill for a stepper. And so and that's, I'm proud of everything that we've built for 26 years. But like I said, there's a lot of ups and downs. And
I want to
get
into
those.
I want to get into the adversity. We were talking about a little bit about, the FDA and all these other things that you've had to kind of overcome, because I think a lot of people don't understand the hoops and these rings of fire that you have to jump through. And the small little legalities and all these little nuances that you have to deal with that makes it so easy to fail as a company in this industry. But let's go through that other kind of 20 something years or so to get to that point first. So like, how did you grow? Obviously, the gas station pills, those were the first big break. What was kind of the next level when you guys, took it to the, expanding?
I think, other than the virility products and the Stamina RX, we did very well in mail order, but also we always have cutting edge products. Jared is, brilliant at having cutting edge ingredients and so forth. So that's kind of what we've always fought the FDA for. They want to ban anything that works because they basically are controlled by the pharmaceutical companies, and anything that works they want to ban. So you have to be, so they can sell you a pill or a drug.
Yeah.
So in 2004, we fought the government very hard on ephedra.
So I want to stop there too, because that statement could be considered provocative, but it's very true.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's accurate. And anybody listening, you can infer whatever you want and extrapolate whatever you want from that statement as far as like what the pharmaceutical companies are doing, what they have done in the last however long. But that statement is true, right? It's a business at the end of the day. And so they use the FDA and they use the whatever tools that they have in their pocket to stop anything that they can that might affect their income.
Absolutely. I mean, you could do another 50 podcasts on
yeah.
on
we might get canceled though.
Yeah, right.
But we'll keep it at the surface level.
It's not right-wing conspiracy.
Yeah, it's not. And that's what I was trying to get at.
Sure.
Like these are facts. We're not we're not even talking about Epstein or anything like that, right? So let's
right.
But yeah, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, so we fought the FDA in 2004 to keep ephedra. There was 50 years of clinical studies about ephedra that it worked.
It worked, man. When I was in like 97, 98, I would take Zinedrin or Hydroxycut, and whichever one was the ephedrine, I think was that the drug name, or was there a product name called that? I probably took your products, and I would go out and I would do karate in the garage, and I would go run around the neighborhood, and I was like 13, 14 years old. Probably shouldn't have been taken at that age.
Maybe not. Maybe not. But phenylethylamine, ephedrine, acetylcordifolia, these are all derivatives of ephedrine and caffeine, and then they all worked. And there was 50 years of clinical studies that showed they worked. And so around 2004, the FDA made it illegal. So we fought them all the way up until July 24, 2004. And that was when it became illegal. So that's when we quit selling it. So then after that, it was DMAA. So it was
3-dimethylamine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
So it was just
3-dimethyl meth, as we called it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have fought them every 2 or 3 years on a new ingredient, a new stimulant that works. But
I remember that one specifically. I want to talk about that one for a second, because that was kind of like youth as I was doing these things. That was in like Jack 3D and like some of these big companies, I think maybe even Explode, like some of the other companies.
Well, all these companies that you're saying, we own them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Hi-Tech owns EAS.
Yeah.
We own the Zinedrine.
And that's what I'm trying to get at. So like everybody listening to this, all you guys out there that took like all these like products and stuff or whatever, and then like, oh, they banned it, and then the new Jack 3D is not the same. Like, oh, it's not as good. Why don't they bring it back? It's like, well, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
Right? You're doing the best that you can with what they're taking away. And then after 3-dimethylamine or DMA, you had to change the name to geranium root, basically, right?
For a while.
Yeah.
So now it's DMHA.
Okay, so which is
currently
close to the same thing? Yeah. How does it? Okay,
you just kind of try to keep ahead of what's illegal.
It's just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
And we own USP Labs, so we own Jack 3D now.
okay, cool. See, I haven't taken that
Yeah.
stuff in so long.
So go to hightechpharma.com or supplementwarehouse.com.
Yeah.
And every single thing on those sites, we own those brands and those products.
Yeah.
And we are the manufacturer of them. So it's all in-house.
That's actually something that we should talk about too, because a lot of people that they have these companies that, like, maybe a small company and they buy from here, they buy from there. They don't understand that formulation companies make those products. And a lot of times you might be buying one product instead of another, but it literally comes from the same lab or from the same formulation company. So only the larger companies actually have their own formulation company. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you guys you do all in-house manufacturing.
Yeah, all in-house manufacturing, formulations, testing in our lab. And then we actually test for some of the larger brands that you know about today, BPI, Blackstone, Redcon, things like that. We manufacture for them.
Okay, that makes sense. So you guys have so you're not just exclusive to your own brand. You do other stuff. You're willing to do that. I didn't realize you guys did Redcon. That's actually pretty
We've
cool.
got one of my partners now. He's a partner, Brandon Shop. He does a fantastic job, and he handles that division.
Well, we talked about Redcon. So we kind of almost have to talk about. And you said Blackstone. So, what is your perspective from that? And you don't have to get into anything that you don't want to, obviously, but we were talking about adversities and things like that, how you have to stay, on the cutting edge. Like, it's basically like you're riding the line of like illegal and legal, but that can sound like it's derogatory. And all you're really saying is just you're trying to make something that works, be available to the public, right? And they keep changing the rules. Right. So
Right.
You have to kind of work around those things. Is that what happened with Blackstone and Redcon, in your opinion, or?
In my opinion, yes. I mean, like I said, it's always evolving as far as your pro hormones, your stimulants is always, there's always physicians coming out. It's the world we live in. They're saying red yeast rice is bad for you now, or red yeast rice is a drug. So those guys, as far as Redcon, Aaron Singerman and PJ at Blackstone, they just probably, I don't know a whole lot about their case, but probably just didn't quit when they should have quit. Like, for instance, just a minute ago when I quoted July 24, 2004, ephedrine got illegal. Well, July 23rd of 2004, we were selling the shit out of it.
That was my birthday. It was a good year.
We were selling the hell out of it.
Yeah.
So you just got to know when to quit.
I remember all the bottles, because you could still sell the hydroxy cut or whatever, or the oxy elite.
Yeah.
And
we
you
own
could
that
still
product.
buy it. Yeah. I know. Trust me, I know. That's why I'm excited to have you in here. Like, I've used so many of these products over the years. But I just remember the Oxy Elites. It's like you got to get them. Like, I'm buying 10, 12 at a time to try and hoard them, because they were just so good at cutting and energy. I mean, anyways, so we talked about Aaron Singerman, which is the, I guess, one of the VPs or one of the founders of Blackstone, and then now also Redcon One. He got in trouble and went to jail for, it was supposed to be like 5 years or something like that. He ended up getting out like a lot earlier. He's out now. But there's a huge amount of press for it. So anybody that's listening to this, you've probably already heard of that. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because it's kind of the same thing that all these companies deal with. You just only hear about these sensational stories when big people go to jail and stuff like that. But they're constantly fighting big pharma, essentially. It's kind of like a little man, even though the supplement industry is not a little industry, but it's little compared to big pharma.
It is.
So what was your biggest adversity that you had to deal with over these 26 years that, maybe got you the closest to where, like, maybe we should pull back?
Well, I would answer two things on that. As far as Hi-Tech, I'm in charge of food, drug, and mass. And I dealt with, for instance, I remember Rite Aid had ordered a $2 million PO. We put it together, and it was on the shipping dock, ready to go out. And there was a physician named Dr. Peter Cohen. He went on NBC News, and he said, "Oh, pick a millin'. picomelon should be illegal. Well, picomelon was in some of the ingredients that were in the product that was on our loading dock that was about to go to Rite Aid.
That's a heck of a commission.
Yeah. So Jared came in and said, "Good job, Big Steve. This is a $2.2 million PO. It's a good job." And as it was going out, this doctor went on NBC News and said, picomelon should be banned. And so Rite Aid called up and said, cancel the order. Yeah. So that happened to us all the time. And you're always running from, the government and big pharma and the wokeism nowadays. We didn't really know it was wokeism back then, but now it is. So, but I will tell you one quick story that happened to Hi-Tech in 2006.
Okay.
September 14th, 2006. I'm good with dates because my whole life has been a timeline. So we thought we would branch out at being the manufacturer of a lot of products here in the country. We would branch out into a third world country and manufacture generic pharmaceuticals for a third world country. Got together with their team of lawyers. They sought out a country that would be willing to bring us in, welcome us, give us a free trade zone, security, and we would just manufacture. It was going to be our 401k. We were just going to manufacture the hell out of some generic drugs.
And this is all legal.
Legal.
I mean, there's nothing that says that you can't do this.
No.
Yeah.
And we met with the prime minister, met with the
what country was
the
this?
attorney general, Belize, Central America. So they gave us a duty-free zone down there, razor wire, armed guards, and we just set up shop. And
is it a rough country? Belize? I've never been. I'm assuming you've been.
Beautiful, but it's kind of rough.
Is it kind of like Ecuador or like Colombia, to where like there's certain areas where you just it's very segregated or whatever?
It's third world as
okay.
hell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's that's why we sure we wanted to make money, but we wanted to help the people of Belize as well.
Yeah.
So we set up shop down there, and for 4 years we made 40 drugs for them, and we were just go down there and just run around the clock. Zyrtec, Viagra was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I say Viagra because
back to your origins.
Yeah, I say Viagra because Pfizer really came after us hard for going to a third world country and making Viagras for them. So I would go down there and make Viagras, and I would be one of the ones that would actually do the blending, because you wanted a partner, somebody had vested interest overseeing the manufacturing, because you're putting your name on it and you're making drugs for people, so you want it highest quality. But it was funny because I would make so much Viagra that my hands would be blue and under my nails would be blue, and then I would get off work and go into town and people would see, oh, there's Mr. Viagra, or there's Mr. sildenafil citrate.
Does it like absorb through your skin?
A little bit.
Oh my God.
A little
So
bit. But it would be under my nails, so the girls would know that
they know, buy him a drink.
And I was single, I wasn't married.
Yeah,
so
buy him a drink.
I could say they were in for a good time.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was funny. So
that's one of the perks of job working at a. In case you guys were wondering, one of the perks of job at working at a Viagra manufacturer is you basically get free Viagra through osmosis.
Free Viagra. Funny, the attorney general and prime minister used to come through, and they would give tours through there, and we'd been over there making Viagra, and he would walk over there with his hand and get a whole handful of Viagra and put it in his pocket. So that was the prime minister and the attorney general of Belize. So everything went great, man, for a while. And then we had this group come down from Bulgaria, and they said, will you sell us 1 million Viagra? And we said, sure. Sold them to them for 70 cents, 700 grand, good pocket change, because we only had 3 cents in it. Literally had 3 cents in the Viagra. Sold them to them for 70 cents. They went back to Bulgaria. They spammed the United States under the ruse of Canadian generics, because like CanadianGenerics.com had the Canadian flag. And so they were selling the hell out of Viagra to the United States. And so they got away with it for about a year. And then the FDA started backtracking where who was really selling the Viagra.
Yeah.
Got in touch with them, arrested them.
So they rolled over on you.
Where'd you get your Viagra? Oh, well, these guys in Belize. Came down to Belize and arrested the Hi-Tech officers, executives.
Who wasn't doing anything illegal.
No.
Because, I mean, you guys can't.
We weren't shipping into the United States. Yeah. We had the blessing of the government of Belize doing what we were doing. But the FDA.
You were helping the company because I'm sure a lot of your workers came from there and stuff too,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
employing a lot of employees.
Yeah. That's so crazy to me. Damn Bulgarians, man. Between that and the Olympics and weightlifting back in the 80s. Because they got the worst. If you were a weightlifter in the 80s, like every single person of those people, every single person in the Olympic team, they were the best until they started getting, banned for all the drugs or whatever.
Yeah, I had a conversation with one of them, and he made $13 million. So off of this Viagra thing that I'm talking about, made $13 million spamming the United States
because they're selling them for what?
He got to keep his money.
He got to keep his money.
Yeah, they got to keep their money. But my back to my story, they arrested Hi-Tech executives who we weren't doing anything in the United States, but they seized everything that we had personally in the country. Back in I lived in Johns Creek in St. Marlow. They seized houses, they seized cars, they seized all our toys, they seized bank accounts, they seized stocks, they seized any cash we had laying around.
Now, what's the real reason why they were able to do that? Because it's another country and they can't really do much with another country, and they basically you took the fall because you were in the country?
Well, Pfizer used to send us cease and desist for making their products down in Belize, but down there they did not honor patents. So we literally would get the lawsuit and just throw it in the trash.
Yeah, because there's nothing
Pfizer.
they can do. Yeah.
Nothing they could do. And so they sicked the FDA on us. This was all in the discovery and all in the documents in our court case.
This is like gang warfare. This is like the mob.
Yeah.
It really is. Like when you break it down, if you just change the drugs and this and that, it's like sending a hitman or paying off the police to go break up some other mob gangsters gambling or prohibition era type thing. This is the type of stuff they make prohibition mob movies off of.
That terminology was actually used in our discovery in our case as mob tactics. So they use mob tactics. So they sicked the FDA on us. And so we were charged with importation of an unapproved drug, being the sildenafil citrate Viagra. We weren't making the blue diamond shape.
Yeah.
We weren't making that. We were making our own,
generic.
round generic.
Yeah.
So we fought them. And like I said, they discovered they took everything from us, and we ended up doing a couple of years in jail each and pled out.
Wow, really?
Importation.
So you actually went to physical jail for that?
27 months.
Gosh, man. And so hearing something like that gives you a completely different perspective on what happens inside, what actually happens when you hear things on the news like Aaron Singerman,
right,
and stuff like that. And I mean, I haven't heard Aaron's case. I'm not saying he's guilty, innocent, or anything like that. It's just the most sensational and recent case of that happening, obviously, that's been going on for quite some time now. So, but you made it through it, and how did Hi-Tech? I mean, Hi-Tech, you said didn't have to close?
No, that was what's interesting about the whole thing. Okay, everybody out there is smart. Okay, I come from a Southern family, born and raised here. Obviously, you can tell from the Southern accent. But my father is both the most simple-minded man, hardworking man, 40 years with General Motors, and he just said to me, if you guys would have done what they alleged you had done, they would have shut Hi-Tech down. But they never shut Hi-Tech down. Hi-Tech thrived throughout the 2 years we were all gone and didn't lay off employees. We made it, persevered through all of that, and kept getting stronger, and I've had lived in a upward trajectory as far as a business ever since. But they didn't shut it down for Hi-Tech. And the reason they didn't shut down Hi-Tech is because we did nothing wrong. It was a grab for cash, and that was all it was. And our defense was that we weren't responsible.
It was a scare tactic too, right? I mean, in the sense of things, it's like, all right, well, like the cease and desist doesn't work. Like, well, we're going to go to the next one, And if that didn't work, you probably would have gotten some what is it? Dead fish in your mailbox or something like that, where they're using The Godfather.
Right. So our defense was we weren't responsible for the life of a pill. They said, yes, you guys are responsible for wherever your pills end up. So, saying that would mean that you were responsible, or Smith & Wesson would be responsible for the actions of one of their guns.
Which where we're going
is
now,
asinine.
it is, but where we're going now, that might not even be that far fetched, right? Or like, what was it? The Winchester wife, the famous Winchester, that she thought that her husband was responsible for all the deaths in the Civil War or whatever, and the house was haunted, and
correct,
all that other kind of stuff, which correct. Is a whole other interesting story. I'm obsessed with those little like ghost stories like that, but especially since it's Halloween right now. Everybody that listens to this knows how much I love Halloween and all that kind of spooky stuff. But I want to get off of that for a second, because I know you got a hard cutoff here, and I want to be respectful of your time. I want to go into a little bit more of a lighter thing, because I want to talk about the Georgia Jam, why you did that, how that happened, because I'm sure that was a difficult thing to put together. And is this the first time you ventured into like music events and stuff like this, or is this something you've been doing for a while on the side?
Well, I was in a band in college, and then, probably 10 years ago, we said, hey, let's get the band back together. So I sing for a cover band, rock band here in Atlanta. Tributes are really big here in Atlanta.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, so I'm in a band right now called Legends of Rock, and we're amazing. I'm just telling you. I mean, we're all that. It's a great show. Anybody that ever comes just leaves. I play with some of the best musicians that Atlanta has, and it's a Vegas type show. So we do 12 tributes in one night, and I do 6 of them, and my partner Nathan Oots does the other 6. So we do everything from Whitesnake, Metallica, to Ozzy, to Sammy Hagar, to David Lee Roth. I mean, it's just a fun show. We play next Friday night, August 27th at Buford in 37 Main. So that's our next show. But back to Georgia Jam, I was always in the entertainment industry and the rock industry. And so I've kind of getting older and kind of moving away from being the front man of a band and kind of into the promotions and owning a record label entertainment company.
Oh, I didn't know you had a record label too.
Yeah, it's Legends of Rock. It's LOR Live Entertainment.
Okay.
So we do a little bit of the entertainment. So we purchased the rights to the Georgia Jam. It's been around here in Atlanta for 40 years. Like I said, I was born and raised here in Atlanta. So we just had a big show last summer at the Gas South Arena. And it was Driving and Crying, Mother's Finest, a lot of the Georgia.
Yeah, I was there. It was fantastic.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
Yeah,
so,
we went with Nick.
Yeah, okay, great. So we'll have another one probably next year.
That's awesome, man. I love that, because that's something that I've, I always say fitness was my, or music was my first love, and fitness was my mistress.
Okay.
Right. Like, it's kind of like what I turned to when I couldn't do music anymore for whatever reason. I played music in Memphis in bands and recorded stuff for almost a decade. And then when I moved away, and I kind of, like you just said, you play with the best musicians in the world. I felt like the group of people that I played with over those, decades, it moved a little bit, around, people came and go, but the core of those people, guitarist, bassist, producer that we had, who was in, went to school, and he was a recording artist. He had his own studio. So it just, the magic wasn't ever there whenever I played with anybody else. So I've kind of fallen back, and if I can, I travel to where he's at. We record music still, but it's just kind of like taking a back seat. So, but the idea of doing events, I threw shows back in Memphis. We threw a show in a parking lot for a car show, because I used to do car shows. Right?
Okay.
So that's why Nick always talks about how similar we are as far as interests and everything. So we used to run car shows all around the nation. And then, and we would have guests, and there's a big band called Egypt Central, who was, huge recording artists, have been in movies all over now. And they've actually just recently got back together. They were good friends. We put on their very first show they did on the back of a flatbed 18-wheeler at a car show. Same way with Yo Gotti. One of his first concerts that he ever did was at a car show in Memphis that we put on. So like, I've always been interested in the events. I've never put on anything the size of this. I mean, you guys were in the Gas South Arena. And I'm so interested on on a greedy level to like to understand the intricacies of that. Like I'm sure like we don't have time to go into the intricacies of it, but how much of a hand did you have in actually booking those things? And were these just people that you knew? Did you have contacts? Like kind of dive in just a little bit into like what goes on behind closed doors to make a huge event like this happen.
Well, I think I take what I've learned from Hi-Tech because in the earlier days of Hi-Tech, I was responsible for organizing the Olympia, the shows, the Arnold, the booth, all the
literally the biggest shows,
and attention to detail. So as far as Georgia Jam, I mean, I booked everything from the ice machine to the wristbands to every act that there was. Now, I did have huge help from my partner, Nathan Nutz, because he's been in the industry here for 40 years and he knew the artist. And so he was able to reach out to them on a personal level.
Yeah, that's got to be the hardest part, right? Yeah. Is like actually just getting a hold of them. Like you can't just slide in their DMs like, hey.
He could, but the half of them I did have to work with agents, and it would be some agent from LA, and he would be like so standoffish and just didn't have that warm and fuzzy feeling like we do here in the South,
Yeah.
So it was a great thing that we did, and looking forward to doing more.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Yeah. Well, as we're winding down here a little bit, I want to talk about what your plans are for the future. What other projects do you have? Because like you're always doing something, and what else could you possibly do? Like, are you gonna open up a restaurant? Like, what's going?
Well, currently at Hi-Tech, we have 18 brands, and we do a lot of manufacturing for a lot of companies, and we're trying to morph into the over-the-counter OTC drugs. That Nittany Pharmaceuticals that I mentioned earlier, we have purchased that pharmaceutical company in Pennsylvania, College Station, Pennsylvania. So I go up there with my team about once every 2 months, and we run drugs up there, acetaminophen based products.
Tylenol for anybody who doesn't know.
Yeah.
Acetylsalicylic acid.
Yeah. And so we were really huge during COVID because Walgreens and a lot of these places ran out of acetaminophen because there was a rush on the shelves. Mm-hmm. I mean, the big zinc, vitamin C, and acetaminophen, that was the combo that did, great for COVID. So we sold a lot of COVID acetaminophen for Walgreens and so forth. So I'm getting more into the over-the-counter drug world.
So you are still very much so involved with Hi-Tech. You're not pulling back because you sound very, very hands-on. And typically when you get that big, I feel like it's most people, you have to kind of release power. So like how have you done that? Because I mean, there's no way you can do all of this for everything. Like, I mean, how much have you pulled away from Hi-Tech as opposed to where you were maybe 15 years ago?
Well, Jared Wheat is the CEO and president, so he's got his thumb on the pulse of everything. So I kind of have my division. Brandon Shop that I mentioned earlier runs the contract manufacturing, so he has his division. So Jared is the quarterback and the mastermind, and he oversees everybody's division.
Okay, so I got you.
So
you have pulled back.
I do have my compartmentalized division.
That's how you have time to do Georgia Jam.
That's how I do.
So do you ever, so when you get free time, do you ever actually just like, I don't know, hang out on the porch, or like, are you the type of person like you're like, well, I've got a free 20 minutes. I need to go do a podcast with somebody.
I'm 55 years old, and I have a 18-month-old little girl, my first child ever. And I have a pregnant.
Oh, really? Congratulations.
Yes. And I have a pregnant wife with due in 3 weeks with a boy.
Again.
So yes.
Do you guys do fertility drugs?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah, so I've been blessed, and I'm having a time of my life with my little baby girl. Can't wait to have a little son. So that's.
So it's going to be a boy.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, thank you so much, Stevie. Yeah. I appreciate you coming on here, and we're going to have you on again because I want to talk more about music.
Yeah.
So
anytime. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and reach out to me anytime.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and click the bell notification if you're on YouTube. Make sure you go to Hi-Tech Pharmaceuticals. What's the website again?
Hi-techpharmaceuticals.com, supplementwarehouse.com, bestnutrition.com. Those are our stable websites.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.